Hi, welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. So glad you're here. We developed Tuesday Tea Time for busy professionals like you that have a long to do list, and the first thing to drop off is personal and professional development. So we created this Tuesday Tea Time, 10 minutes, quick tips that you can carry with yourself from week to week and grow personally and professionally. My name is Megan Nabazik. I'm founder and CEO of Leadership Within. We recognize that everyone has the influence to impact change. Therefore, leadership is beyond just a title. And we guide people to transform from inside out. So, we've been talking lately about the stories we tell ourselves and how that impacts our potential. We talked about the stories we tell ourselves, about others, about boundaries, um, and what to do with those stories and how to identify those stories. So I think the main thing takeaway from the last few sessions is don't beat yourself up about the negative self-talk you have. Just be aware of it. Be aware of it as it comes up, recognize it, be curious about it, ask yourself a question, but just be open to identifying those stories that lie beneath the surface. So today we're going to talk about feeling stuck. When you're doing all the right things, you're making all this effort for change, but nothing's happening. And of course, we're impatient. We want change now and we want change our way. But change isn't linear. It's two steps forward, one step back. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And so we really need to step back and make sure that we're being gracious and kind and gentle to ourselves as we navigate through this new territory of how to think and remap new stories. So, I think I wrote a blog today. Check that out on my website. It's about discovering the power of embracing your feelings, unveiling the truths about feeling stuck, and finding the freedom in it. And I think the misconception we make about feelings is that if we're doing it right, we shouldn't have bad feelings. And that couldn't be anything further from the truth. If we weren't feeling, we'd be dead. So, feelings is about feeling feelings, but then examining the stories behind the feelings and make sure that they're balanced and we're not creating chaos and stress or impacting our potential with them. And that's really what it's all about. Um, so that it's a fine balance between feeling feelings, but are we magnifying or minimizing the feelings? Or are these feelings based on facts? And so don't try and change your feeling or stop your feeling. Try to be aware of the thoughts behind the feeling. So let me give you an example. So lots of times our mind wants to put ourselves in the victim role for a few reasons. One, so we don't have to take responsibility of ourselves. We can blame someone else way easier. And two, because our ego thinks that that's the safe place to be. So playing in the victim role keeps us in that safe setting of status quo. And there we don't have to change. And growth and change is hard because it's uncomfortable, because it's new, not because it's unsafe and dangerous. But our mind doesn't know the difference between the two unless we tell ourselves the story, the right story. So we talked about in the blog, we talk about the myth of constant happiness and how that's unattainable. And so perfectionism is not something we're here to attain, nor is it our goal. We talked about overcoming with curiosity and separating. I think a big takeaway from today would be separating our worth from our circumstances. Our worth is a birthright. We were born with worthy and approval and beauty and the unique creative being that we were created at this point in time for this day. And there's no one else in history that ever was or ever will be us. And so it's super important to be able to be grounded in that and not seeking approval in others' relationships or their approval or their acceptance or recognition or the circumstances that we're in or the whatever pattern we're in, or if we're suffering from an illness, that none of that is attached to who we are. So super important to know that your worth is solid, substantial, and unwavering. Because sometimes what happens is we believe that our challenges are because we're failures, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And so that's an opportunity to take that story that our failures, that our mistakes or failures, or that when we mess up, or if we're learning something new, it's not a failure. They're stepping stones to success. And that's the only way we can grow, is by making mistakes and growing and learning. So that's one way of breaking free from some of the limiting stories. Embracing your journey, we mentioned earlier, remembering that it's never a straight road forward, that it's full of ups and downs, and that just because we think we've dealt with one emotion, that emotion's not going to go away. And it's going to come back. And so if we recognize when we've worked through those emotions or those stories around those circumstances and emotions, knowing that that feeling is going to come up again, but we get to choose the story, the next story we tell about that feeling. So maybe that feeling will be a little bit less next time, or maybe it's going to be around a new set of stories that we're going to have to explore and dive into to be able to identify and reshape and retell the next time. So the point is, be kind to yourself. We tend to be harder on ourselves than we are anyone else. And we deserve more than that. So the path to freedom, what does that look like? Reflection is a huge piece of growth. And feeling stuck, there is opportunity in feeling stuck as well. Don't rush through the uncomfortable phase. Sitting with that uncomfortableness is an opportunity for growth and solidifying change. And when we rush through things, we often find ourselves stuck and wondering why. It's because we never really healed from our hurt, acknowledged our hurt, and recognized our hurt. We just pushed it away and said, okay, I'm saying a different story now. But we can't ignore the feelings and the grief and the process. We have to go through the process. So don't rush any one stage of the process. So remember that your worth, like I said, is solid. It's not dependent on any mistake or circumstance or condition. And that, knowing that, and affirmations around that will definitely prevent you from minimizing or maximizing or being stuck in the victim role, so that you can move beyond that and deal with your feelings in more of a reality-based thought. Remember, we're focusing on progress, not perfection. And keep track of the progress, because once we solve a problem, it goes out of our mind and we don't really think of it again. We just think of the new problems we have. So we never keep track of the progress we've made and celebrate and recognize our progress. So make sure that you write down where you're at and what your progress and the changes you've made, so that you can recognize the progress you've made, because there's always going to be more to work on. And then you're going to interpret that as a failure because you've never reached perfection, and it's never going to happen. So don't use perfection as your indicator of success. And then keep being mindful of your emotions and what possible stories might be adding to them. And just be curious. Just recognize them. Think about where they might have come from. Think about what the next news story can be the next time that situation happens. So, to achieve balance between our feelings and emotions, challenging our thoughts, we must remember that our worth is not tied to our circumstances. So, I hope you got something out of today. Leave me a comment in the leave me a comment. Watch these videos. Check out our website. I hope you have a great day.